Hey world, it's your girl Crystal hitting you up with another video. What I wanted to talk about in this bit is actually something that I believe is often misconstrued, or at least could potentially be a triggering topic for some. And that has to do with the word faith. I want to talk about faith. And a lot of people automatically go to religion when I'm talking about faith, but that's not actually what I'm talking about when I use the word faith. For me, faith supersedes religion because religion is a group activity. It's a group, it's a collective thing. Whereas faith is very personal. It's very, very personal. And I think this is a better spot to begin the conversation about how do we live more mindfully? How do we take better care of our sweet selves? How do we practice self-love? Self-compassion? Because when it comes to faith is to describe a mental state, right? Faith has to do with belief. It has to do with belief. And when we're looking at perception, and what is perception, how do we perceive the world? How do we perceive ourselves? Perception is very much grounded by belief, right? That what I see is what I believe. And when you start learning more about your inner self, your inner world, you will get to a point where you realize that you have a lot more power than you believe, that you have a lot more to offer, to give the world than you can currently see or perceive, right? And when it comes to having faith, faith is obviously not a single belief, right? Faith is having an attitude. It's like an attitude towards something. And when we're speaking about having faith in the world, that attitude is actually a belief system. So it's not like a single belief, it's a belief system. And I want to talk more about why is faith important to have, especially now in these times, because faith isn't just having faith or believing in a God or higher power or source or creator or the universe or Allah. It doesn't matter what term you use to describe the divine, the spiritual nature of existence. It's more important to understand that the way you approach your life, the way you approach how you make decisions, the way you choose to react or respond to people, places, or things, it always comes back to, well, what is it that you believe? What do you believe is happening right now? So let's just talk about what just happened this week in North America. The United States elections, this just happened earlier this week, and we have the now elected, for the second time, President Trump. And the election process and the results have had a lot of emotional investment by a lot of people. And that emotional investment, whether you're for or against Trump, doesn't matter. But it is an example of where you have a belief and the emotional result of holding that belief is what a lot of us are experiencing now in the aftermath of these elections. So you have the folks who are very pro-Trump, who are exuberantly happy that their leader has won the election. And then you have those who are against Trump, who are very upset about what has happened. And the way I see it is with the eyes of faith. And what I mean by that is that I still have full faith that we are okay. Like right here, right now, we are okay. Now, someone might say, but Crystal, and these groups of people are going to be victims of da 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 da. And I see things differently, because my faith is very much grounded in the now. That right now I am responsible for how I perceive my life. That's my responsibility. What I allow up in here corresponds with what I feel in here, but it is up to me to decide if I'm going to let my mind dictate what's happening for me right now. And that could look like anxieties, fearful thoughts about the future. Oh, but Trump did this last time, or Trump said he's going to do this now. That's all outside of my sphere of responsibility. I'm responsible 100% for myself and myself alone. I am not responsible for Trump. I am not responsible for Kamala Harris. I am not responsible for America. I'm not responsible for any particular individual or group. I am just responsible for me. So I get to choose what I believe. And if I'm holding a belief that leads me into thinking scary things are gonna happen, then I'm going to feel fear. I'm going to feel anxiety. I'm going to resist life because I'm going to be in defense mode, right? But if I have faith that I am okay, that I am well, that I am well taken care of, in spite of what is going on in the world, irregardless of what else is going on in my external world, that faith is like a bridge. It bridges the now with the future, right? Faith is a bridge. And we get to choose what future we want to be living in. But we don't get to dictate how that unfolds. This is the tricky part. Because just because you can imagine it, just because you want it, just because you desire it, doesn't make it so, right? And that's just fluffy speech if someone tells you that's the case. Just think of something hard enough or long enough. A lot of people in law of attraction who practice law of attraction, or at least are thinking that law of attraction is all that they need to know, they get stuck on this. They get stuck in their heads. They get stuck with what am I thinking? And if I think this, then that will happen, because thoughts create reality, right? But what is the flip side to law of attraction is that it's the fact that we're able to choose in every moment what we believe to be true. That's the secret to faith. Because when I say that I'm practicing faith, I'm practicing being present in the now and allowing all that is external to me and internal to me to be as it is. I am not in resistance to it, and I'm not allowing it to control me, to dictate my feelings, my emotions. So that is easier said than done practice when awful things are going on in the world, or awful things are happening to you and the people you love, right? How do you have faith when a loved one is sick and terminally ill? How do you have faith when you're living paycheck to paycheck and you're stressed out and don't know how you're going to pay rent at the end of the month? Faith is not meant to be a problem solver. Faith is not meant to be a problem solver. In fact, what faith does is substitute the problem with trust. It substitutes the problem with trust. And this idea of faith is like as I said, it's like a cord to the divine. It's like having this telephone line with God. But if you don't like the word God, don't use it. Use the universe. Use Mother Nature. Use Holy Spirit. Use whatever you feel comfortable using. Because for me, as I said, faith is not about religion. So therefore, there can be many different names for the very same thing. It's just a matter of which angle are you looking at it as, you know? So I love having these kinds of discussions. I would love to hear what you think faith is really about and how you cultivate faith in your everyday life. For me, I have a very strong and stable practice in stillness and meditation, and I listen to my intuition more often than not. So the way I live and operate in this world, I now know is very different than how most people operate. I live in the moment. I never know how things are going to go or how I'm going to be or present in the know. And sometimes that's scary. But I have a lot of practice at trying new things and allowing myself to make mistakes and allowing myself to be seen and allowing myself to be judged and allowing myself to be criticized. You know, it ain't pretty sometimes. It ain't pretty. However, to show up authentically, to be your truest self, you need that cord to the divine. You need that anchor so that you can see through the current circumstances and have that sense of trust that no matter what is going on in your life, you are okay. You are okay. You are well. You are okay. But this is a conversation that one must initiate first with themselves. And that conversation happens through many different ways. For some people, it's through prayer and meditation. For some people, it's through creative expression, maybe through painting, drawing, or writing. For some people, it's a relationship that is so hard to put into words. A relationship with the divine is a birthright that we each have. You don't need anyone else to bring you closer to God. You don't need that. We each have that line, and it really takes us picking up the phone and listening. And this is inner listening. This is listening to our whole self, listening to our mind, listening to our feelings, listening to our body and what our body is communicating. Because being multidimensional as we are means that we have many streams of information constantly pouring in. And that's why meditation is great, because you become more aware of all the different streams of data that we're processing and is cycling through. And until we become aware of the noise, we won't appreciate the silence. In fact, sometimes we fear it. When there's no noise, we're like, what is going on? Why do I not know what's happening, right? Because it's a place of uncertainty. When we're like unsure of how we are able to connect with people, with the divine. Like, this is about communication, right? And if you're not aware of how you communicate or how others communicate with you, then you're missing some vital information, right? And that means you're going to have less information to make grounded, balanced decisions. So stay tuned for more discussions about faith. I'd love to hear what you think about faith as a practice and how you practice your faith. What does faith mean to you? And we will pick it up again in the next video. Until then, much love. See you next time.